The morning sky over Earth's capital colony split open like a tear in reality itself. Commander Junho Park stood on the observation deck of Lunar Station, his morning coffee growing cold in his hands as he watched impossible shapes emerge from the swirling vortex of hyperspace. The Vactar fleet came through one ship at a time, each vessel dwarfing Earth's largest dreadnoughts, like whales swimming beside minnows. "Sir, we're reading over 200 contacts," reported Lieutenant Soyoung. At the tactical station, her voice barely steady, the screens around them lit up with red warning lights, each one representing another alien warship taking position in Earth's outer system. Commander Park set down his cup with shaking hands. In 20 years of military service, he had never seen anything like this. The alien vessels were organic in appearance, their hulls rippling with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed like living heartbeats. Massive tentacle-like appendages extended from their sides, crackling with energy discharges that made Earth's plasma weapons look like toys. "Open a channel to all stations," Park ordered. "All civilians are to evacuate immediately. Military personnel, battle stations." Before the communication could be sent, the first alien ship opened fire. A beam of pure violet energy lanced out, striking the mining station at Phobos. The entire structure simply ceased to exist, vaporized in an instant, without even debris. Left behind, Dr. Minji Kim rushed into the command center, her lab coat still singed from the explosion in her research facility moments earlier. "Commander, I've been monitoring their weapons output," she gasped, catching her breath. "These aren't conventional energy weapons. They're using something we've never seen before. They're somehow converting matter directly into energy at the quantum level." Another blast struck the Europa research station. This time, Park watched through the long-range sensors as the beam hit. The station didn't explode or burn. It simply unraveled, its atoms dancing apart like dust in the wind before vanishing completely. "Ma'am, we're receiving distress calls from all outer colonies," reported Corporal Jin-Soo from communications. "Mars Base, Titan Mining Facility, the Jupiter shipyards, they're all under attack simultaneously." Park gritted his teeth. The aliens weren't just attacking, they were demonstrating their power. Each target was chosen for maximum psychological impact. Mars Base, humanity's first major off-world settlement. Titan, their most productive mining colony. Jupiter's shipyards, where Earth's newest warships were built. "Sir, the Vactar are sending some kind of transmission," Jin-Soo added. "Put it on." Screen. The main display filled with an image that made everyone in the room step back. The creature speaking was vaguely humanoid, but wrong in every detail. Its skin appeared to be made of living metal that shifted like liquid mercury. 6 eyes arranged in perfect symmetry around its head, focused on the camera, each one glowing within a fire. When it spoke, its voice came from multiple mouths that opened across its chest. "Humans of Earth, we are the Vactar. Your resistance is admirable but pointless. We have conquered 1,000 worlds, enslaved 1,000,000 species. Your primitive weapons cannot harm us. Your technology is to ours as fire is to the stars. Surrender now, and some of you may be permitted to serve." The transmission ended, replaced by the horrifying sight of more alien ships pouring through. The hyperspace gate. Park counted 50, then 100, then stopped counting. "Status report on our defenses?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Lieutenant Soyoung's fingers danced over her controls. "All outer defense platforms are engaging, sir, but—" She paused, her face going pale. "Commander, our weapons aren't even scratching their hulls. The plasma cannons, the antimatter missiles, everything's bouncing off some kind of shield. As a cue, if to demonstrate her point, a wing of Earth's newest fighters screamed past the observation window, their fusion engines burning bright blue. They opened fire on the nearest Vactar ship, their weapons creating a light show that would have been beautiful under other circumstances. The alien vessel didn't even slow down. It simply turned one of its weapon appendages toward the fighters. 3 violet beams lanced out. 3 fighters vanished. Dr. Kim rushed to the sensor station, pulling up readings. "Commander, their shields aren't like anything in our textbooks. They're not deflecting energy or matter. They're creating localized space-time distortions. Everything that approaches them gets twisted out of phase with normal reality." A new alarm blared. "Invasion pods detected," shouted Jin-Soo. "They're breaking atmosphere over major population centers. Park watched in horror as thousands of smaller craft detached from the main Vaktar ships. These looked like massive seeds or spores, their surfaces covered in writhing tentacles. They fell toward Earth like a deadly rain, each one the size of a city block. The first pod struck Sol. The impact created no crater, no explosion. Instead, the pod simply sank into the ground, as if the Earth were made of water. Within seconds, metallic tendrils erupted from the ground throughout the city, each one tipped with some kind of weapon. The tendrils moved with purpose, seeking out human targets. "They're setting up some kind of control network," Dr. Kim observed, her face grim. "These pods aren't just weapons, they're invasion infrastructure. More alarms, more cities under attack. New York, London, Tokyo, Mumbai, every major population center on Earth was being simultaneously assaulted. The news feeds that still functioned showed chaos in the streets, civilians running, screaming, as the alien tendrils pursued them. But what chilled Park to the bone wasn't the destruction, it was the precision. The aliens weren't trying to destroy humanity, they were trying to capture them alive. He watched a news feed from London as a metallic tendril wrapped around a fleeing man. Instead of killing him, it injected something into his neck. The man stopped struggling, his eyes going blank, then began walking calmly toward the nearest pod. "They're turning us into slaves," whispered Dr. Kim. Park straightened, forcing himself to think clearly. "Send word to all remaining forces. We're falling back to defensive positions Alpha through Delta. Evacuate all personnel from compromised sectors, and get me a connection to the underground command center." Even as he gave the orders, he knew they were just buying time. Earth's orbital defenses were crumbling. The colonies were falling one by one. The alien technology was centuries ahead of anything humanity possessed. Through the viewport, he watched Earth itself begin to change. Dark spots appeared across the continents where the pods had landed, spreading outward like infected wounds. The Vaktar weren't just conquering Earth, they were transforming it into something alien. "Sir," Lieutenant Soyoung called out, "I'm reading massive energy buildups from the alien fleet. I think they're preparing for a second wave." Park closed, his eyes for a moment, trying to process the magnitude of what was happening. In less than 4 hours, humanity had gone from the dominant species of their solar system to refugees on their own planet. But as he opened his eyes and looked at the determined faces around him, he felt something beyond despair. These were humans, the same species that had once faced down ice ages and plagues, that had climbed out of caves to reach for the stars. They had survived everything the universe had thrown at them before. "Patch me through to all Earth forces," he commanded. Jinsu nodded. "You're connected, sir." Park took a deep breath. "All units, this is Commander Park. The enemy has shown us their strength, but they've also shown us their purpose. They want us alive. That means we're valuable to them, and that gives us leverage. This is not the end. This is the beginning of humanity's greatest test. Hold your positions, protect the civilians, and remember, we're human, we don't surrender, not today." As if in response to his words, explosions bloomed across the Vaktar flagship. A squadron of retrofitted mining vessels had apparently loaded themselves with neutron charges and gone on suicide runs. They hadn't penetrated the shield, but they had gotten the aliens' attention. Dr. Kim looked up from her console. "Commander, I'm detecting something interesting. When those miners exploded, there was a brief fluctuation in the alien shields. I think they might not be invulnerable after all." For the first time since the invasion began, Park allowed himself a grim smile. "Record everything, Doctor. If these things have a weakness, we're going to find it." Outside the viewport, more Vaktar ships continued to emerge from hyperspace. The battle for Earth had only just begun. The ground shook violently as another Vaktar energy beam struck the surface above. General Kyung-Soo Jung stood in the makeshift command center, 300 meters underground, in what used to be the Seoul Metro tunnels. Dust rained from the reinforced ceiling, and emergency lights cast eerie shadows on the faces of his officers. "All surface teams, this is command. Fall back to emergency bunkers immediately." Jung spoke into his communication device. His voice echoed through the tunnels, mixing with the sounds of machinery and distant explosions. This is not a request. This is an order. The reports coming in were devastating. In just 6 hours, the Vaktar had taken control of every major city on Earth. Their pods didn't just destroy buildings, they transformed them into twisted organic structures that pulsed with alien life. Streets became rivers of metallic liquid that moved with purpose, searching for human survivors. Captain Sunmi Choi burst through the heavy metal door, her military uniform torn and covered with strange acidic burns. Behind her came a group of 43 civilians, including children who clutched toy robots and dolls with wide, frightened eyes. "Sir, we evacuated sectors 7 through 12, she reported, breathing heavily. "The Vaktar have deployed some kind of hunting machines. They look like giant spiders made of liquid metal, but they move faster than our vehicles. We lost 3 transport trucks to them." Jung nodded grimly. "How many civilians did we save?" 17,000 so far, but there are still pockets of survivors in the eastern districts. The problem is reaching them. Every time we send a rescue team to the surface, those spider things track them down." A young girl tugged at Captain Choi's sleeve. "Ma'am, will the aliens hurt my mommy? She was at work when the scary things came." Choi knelt down, her expression softening. "We're going to find her, okay? The brave soldiers are looking everywhere." Jung felt the weight of command crushing down on him. 17,000 saved, but millions were still trapped above. The Vaktar weren't killing humans. They were capturing them and doing something worse. Reports from the few functioning cameras showed humans walking in perfect formation toward the alien pods, their eyes glowing with the same violet light as the Vaktar's weapons. Down in the deepest part of the tunnel system, Dr. Minji Kim worked at a collection of hastily assembled computers and alien technology. She had somehow managed to recover a piece of debris from a damaged Vaktar weapon during the first attack. The fragment sat on her makeshift lab table, still warm and pulsing with energy. "Commander Park, you need to see this," she called out as Park approached. Her hands flew over holographic displays that showed complex energy patterns. "I've been studying the alien technology for the past 4 hours. Their shields aren't actually impenetrable." Park leaned closer, his tired eyes focusing on the swirling data. "Explain it in simple terms, Doctor. We're all running on fumes here." "Think of their shields like a soap bubble," Dr. Kim said, manipulating the hologram to show a simplified model. "The bubble is incredibly strong on the outside, but if you can create the right frequency of vibration, you can make it pop." The miners who attacked earlier, their explosions created brief harmonic resonances that weakened the shield matrix. She pulled up footage from the battle, slowing it down to show the moment when the mining ships exploded. "See that? For exactly 0.3 seconds, their shields became permeable. If we can figure out how to replicate that effect on a larger scale, we might actually have a chance," Park finished, feeling hope stir in his chest for the first time since the invasion began. An alarm suddenly blared through the tunnels. "All personnel to battle stations," came the announcement. "Alien forces have discovered entrance Alpha 7. Through the security cameras, they watched as one of the metallic spider creatures flowed down the tunnel like liquid mercury. It was the size of a small car, with dozens of legs that shifted and adapted to every surface. Its body rippled with sensors that glowed like stars. "Seal the blast doors," Jung ordered. Heavy titanium barriers slammed shut, but everyone knew they wouldn't hold for long. The spider thing pressed against the door, and they could hear the metal beginning to sizzle and melt. At the far end of the command center, pilot Hyunwoo Lee stepped forward. He was young, maybe 25, with the kind of steady hands that made him one of Earth's best fighters. "General, I have a request." Jung turned to him, distracted by the sounds of the melting door. "Make it quick, Lieutenant." "Sir, we still have one functional fighter hidden in the mountain hangar. I want to take a message to the Mars colonies and anyone else who might still be fighting. They need to know what's happening here, and they need to know about Dr. Kim's discovery." The spider creature's leg punched through the blast door, spraying molten metal into the tunnel. "That's a suicide mission, son," Jung said quietly. "The orbital space is crawling with Vaktar ships. You'll never make it to hyperspace." Hyunwoo straightened. "With respect, sir, staying here is also a suicide mission. At least this way, if I die, it means something." The colonies need to prepare. They need to know about the shield weakness. Dr. Kim looked up from her work. Lieutenant, if you're going to do this, take this with you. She pressed a small device into his hands. It's all my research on the shield harmonics. If the colonies have better equipment than we do, they might be able to develop it further. Captain Choi grabbed Hyunwoo's arm. I'm coming with you. You'll need someone to handle communications and navigation while you focus on flying. No, Hyunwoo shook his head. These people need you here. I can handle a solo run. The blast door finally gave way, and the spider creature flowed into the tunnel. It moved like nightmare made real, its form shifting and changing as it analyzed its environment. Soldiers opened fire with conventional weapons, but the bullets passed right through its liquid metal body. It's scanning for human biosignatures, Dr. Kim observed, watching its sensor arrays sweep the area. It knows we're here. Jung made a decision. Lieutenant Lee, get to that fighter. The hangar entrance is through maintenance shaft 12. You'll have about 5 minutes before that thing traces our communications and finds you. Hyunwoo nodded, tucking the device into his flight suit. Tell my sister I kept my promise about becoming the best pilot in the system. He disappeared into the maintenance tunnels just as the spider creature's sensors locked onto their command center. It began moving faster, flowing through the corridors like deadly water seeking its prey. All units prepare for close-quarters combat, Jung ordered. Use the sonic weapons. Dr. Kim's research suggests they might be vulnerable to specific sound frequencies. The soldiers activated devices that looked like advanced speakers. When they fired, instead of bullets, they produced focused beams of sound waves. The spider creature recoiled, its form destabilizing for a moment before reforming. It's working, shouted Captain Choi. Keep firing. Above ground, Hyunwoo reached the hidden hangar. His fighter was an old model, built for atmosphere and space combat. It wasn't much against the Vaktar's advanced ships, but it was fast and had been modified with experimental stealth technology. As he started the engines, explosions rocked the mountain. Through the hangar's camouflaged entrance, he could see Vaktar ships patrolling the sky like mechanical sharks. Their hulls glowed with that same violet energy that had destroyed Earth's defenses. This is Ghost One to command, he whispered, into his radio. Beginning takeoff sequence. If anyone's listening in other star systems, know that Earth hasn't given up. We're still fighting. The hangar doors opened, disguised as part of the mountainside. Hyunwoo's fighter shot out like a bullet, its engines screaming as it climbed toward the stars. Behind him, energy beams traced deadly paths through the sky, searching for the small human craft. In the tunnels below, the battle with the spider creature continued. Dr. Kim discovered that combining sonic waves with electromagnetic pulses could actually damage its structure. The creature began to lose cohesion, its liquid metal form becoming unstable. We're doing it, Park exclaimed. Keep the pressure up. But even as they fought one creature, alarms indicated that more were entering the tunnel system. Dozens of them converging on their location from all directions. Jung watched the readings with grim determination. All sections, this is our stand. We make them pay for every meter. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for everyone the Vaktar have captured, and everyone they plan to capture. Above them, buildings continued to burn and transform. The alien pods pulsed with gathered human life, forces converting Earth itself into something unrecognizable. But deep underground in the tunnels and bunkers, humanity's survivors prepared for what might be their last battle. Dr. Kim looked at her readings one more time. If Lieutenant Lee makes it to the colonies, they'll have what they need to fight back. This research could save everyone. As if summoned by her words, the sound of fighter engines echoed through the mountain, followed by explosions as Hyunwoo engaged the Vaktar pursuit ships. Whatever happened next, he was giving everything he had to deliver humanity's hope to the stars. The tunnel shook as more spider creatures approached. In the distance, they could hear the sound of children singing, a lullaby that some parent hummed to calm their scared kids. It was a reminder of what they were fighting for. Positions, everyone, Jung called out. Let's show these aliens what humans do when we have nothing left to lose. The first wave of creatures rounded the corner, their sensors blazing with hostile intent. The battle for humanity's underground stronghold began. Deep in the tunnel system, Dr. Minji Kim's hands trembled as she stared at the ancient files that had appeared on her screen. After hours of digging through classified military databases, she had found something that made her heart race, with both terror and hope. "Project Deepwater," she whispered, reading the words that glowed on her laptop. The file was marked with security clearances she didn't even know existed. As she scrolled through the documents, her eyes widened with each line. 20 years ago, long before anyone had heard of the Vaktar, humanity's top scientists had worked on something incredible. Hidden beneath the deepest part of the Pacific Ocean, they had built a weapon that could reshape reality itself. The project had been abandoned after testing showed it was too dangerous to use. "Commander Park, you need to see this right now," Dr. Kim called out, her voice cutting through the sounds of battle preparations around them. Park rushed over, still covered in dust from the recent fight with the spider creatures. "What is it?" "Doctor, we don't have much time before the next wave hits." "The quantum resonance device," she said, pointing at a technical diagram that looked like something from a science fiction movie. "There's a massive weapon hidden 3 miles beneath the ocean floor in the Mariana Trench. It was designed to manipulate quantum fields on a planetary scale." General Jung joined them, his face scarred from a close encounter with one of the metallic spiders. "Explain it in words we can understand," he demanded. Dr. Kim took a deep breath. "Remember how the Vaktar shields work by bending space-time? This weapon does the opposite. It can straighten space-time, forcing their shields to collapse. But more than that," she paused, looking at both men, "it can create a quantum bubble around Earth that would make our entire planet temporarily exist outside normal space." Commander Park felt his pulse quicken. "You mean we could hide Earth from them?" "Not hide. More like shift it slightly out of phase with their reality. For a brief time their weapons couldn't touch us, but we could still affect them. It would give us the perfect opportunity to strike back." The sound of approaching alien forces grew louder in the tunnels. Somewhere above, the Vaktar were using their captured humans to search every building, every bunker. They're violet-eyed. Servants moved through the ruins like zombies, calling out in human voices to lure survivors from their hiding places. Jung studied the technical diagrams. "What do we need to activate this thing?" 3 teams, Dr. Kim explained, her finger tracing paths on the display. 1 team to reach the ocean platform and activate the main controls, 2 teams to synchronize quantum field generators at the North and South Poles, and... She hesitated. "We need to provide massive amounts of energy to prime the system, the kind of energy we get from a controlled nuclear reaction." "How massive?" Park asked, though he already suspected the answer wouldn't be good. "Every nuclear reactor on the planet, running at maximum output simultaneously, plus all our fusion power stations, and to make sure it works, we'd need to overload them past safety limits." The implications hit them all at once. Even if the weapon worked, the energy requirements would leave Earth without power for months. Cities would go dark, life support systems would fail, millions would die from the aftermath. Jung's radio crackled to life. It was Captain Choi's voice coming from another part of the tunnel system. "General, we've received a transmission from space. It's Lieutenant Lee." Everyone gathered around the communication station as Hyunwoo's voice cut through static. "And interference." He sounded exhausted, and there were explosion sounds in the background. "Command, this is Ghost 1. I made it past the blockade, but they're still chasing me. Listen carefully. The Mars colonies are still fighting, but they're taking heavy losses. I gave them Dr. Kim's research about the shield harmonics. They say they can weaponize it, but they need more time." Another explosion, closer this time. "I'm transmitting coordinates for a rendezvous point. They're sending a fleet to Earth, but they won't arrive for at least 24 hours. You need to hold out until then." The transmission cut to static. Everyone stood silent for a moment, processing what they'd heard. 24 hours. They had to survive 24 more hours, with most of Earth's military destroyed, and the Vaktar growing stronger by the minute. Jung made a decision that would haunt him forever. "Dr. Kim, how long to activate this quantum weapon?" "If everything goes perfectly, 12 hours, but we'd need perfect coordination, and teams would have to fight their way through alien-occupied territory to reach each activation site. Then we have a chance, Jung said grimly. We activate the weapon, use it to cripple the Vaktar fleet and hold out until the Mars reinforcements arrive. Commander Park looked at the energy requirements again. General, you understand what this means? We'd be killing millions of our own people. The elderly, the sick, anyone on life support, they won't survive the power shutdown. I know, Jung replied, his voice heavy with the weight of command. But if we don't act, the Vaktar will enslave or kill everyone anyway. At least this way, we have a chance to free the ones they've already captured. The ground shook as another wave of spider creatures found their tunnel entrance. Soldiers prepared their sonic weapons, their faces grim with determination. Dr. Kim began pulling up more detailed schematics. The ocean platform is designated as Deepwater Station. It's completely automated, but the access codes are in this database. The polar generators are at Research Station Alpha in Antarctica and Arctic Base Zulu in the North Pole. I'll take the ocean platform, Park volunteered. I have submarine experience. No, Jung shook his head. You're needed here to coordinate the defense. I'll take the ocean mission myself. Captain Choi stepped forward. Sir, what if the weapon doesn't work? What if we sacrifice everything and it's still not enough? Jung looked at each of them in turn. Then we'll have died as free humans, not as slaves. And maybe, just maybe, we'll weaken them enough for other worlds to have a better chance. The sounds of battle drew closer. They could see flashes of light from sonic weapons reflecting off the tunnel walls. Time was running out. Dr. Kim pulled up a final schematic. There's one more thing. The quantum weapon creates a massive electromagnetic pulse when it fires. All electronic devices on Earth will be destroyed. We'll have no communications, no sensors, nothing except basic mechanical technology. So we fire it and go in blind, Park mused. Exactly. But if it works, the Vaktar ships will be sitting ducks. Their organic technology might actually be more vulnerable to quantum disruption than our electronics. Jung grabbed a map of Earth, marking the 3 target locations. Here's the plan. We split into 3 strike teams. I'll take Alpha Team to the ocean platform. Commander Park leads Beta Team to Antarctica. Captain Choi takes Gamma Team to the Arctic. What about the people in the tunnels? Someone asked. The remaining forces stay here and keep fighting. Make noise, attract attention. Make the Vaktar think our main force is still underground. We need 12 hours. 12 hours to save the world. As if summoned by his words, a massive explosion shook the entire tunnel system. Dust and debris rained down as the lights flickered. Through the emergency communication system, they heard reports from the surface defenders. Multiple Vaktar ground forces approaching all tunnel entrances, came a panicked voice. They've brought in those walking tank things. Machines that look like military robots crossed with hungry animals. Jung looked at his watch. It would be dawn in 3 hours. The thought struck him as strange. Would the sun still rise over a world in the middle of revolution? Teams assemble in Bay 3, he ordered. Full combat gear. Dr. Kim, you stay here and help coordinate our attack runs. Keep working on those shield harmonics. As the officers prepared to leave, Dr. Kim grabbed General Jung's arm. Sir, there's something else. The weapon, when it fires, there's a chance it could affect the Vaktar's control over the humans they've captured. The same quantum fields that disrupt their shields might also disrupt their mind control technology. For the first time since the invasion began, Jung smiled. You mean we might actually save them? It's possible. But I can't guarantee it won't harm them either. We're dealing with forces we barely understand. The general nodded and headed toward the equipment bay, where soldiers were already loading weapons and supplies. As he walked away, he heard Dr. Kim talking to her computer, running calculations and simulations. In the distance, the sound of fighting grew louder. The Vaktar were coming and Earth's last desperate gamble was about to begin. The fate of humanity rested on 3 teams, reaching 3 impossible targets while the world burned around them. The tunnel shook again, this time from weapons fire, not explosions. Battle had truly begun, and every minute that passed was another chance for the aliens to discover their plan. Jung strapped on his combat gear and took one last look at the people in the command center. Children clutched their parents, soldiers checked their weapons, scientists worked at computer terminals, trying to solve impossible problems. "For Earth," he whispered, and stepped into the transport tunnel that would take his team toward the surface, and the longest odds any military commander had ever faced. The pre-dawn darkness over Earth buzzed with deadly energy as Captain Sunmi, Choi watched the Vaktar mothership through her fighter's windscreen. The massive vessel hung in space like a twisted city, its organic hull pulsing with bioluminescent veins that carried unknown power throughout its structure. Tentacle-like appendages stretched in all directions, each one larger than Earth's biggest. "Skyscraper? Phoenix Squadron, this is Phoenix Leader." She spoke into her radio, her voice steady despite the impossible odds. "Remember, we're not here to win. We're here to buy time. Make them look at us while the real heroes do the work." Behind her flew 17 other fighters, all that remained of Earth's once proud space fleet. These weren't the newest or best ships. They were older models, hastily repaired and jury-rigged with whatever weapons the engineers could find. But they flew true, and their pilots had nothing left to lose. "Roger that, Phoenix Leader," came the reply from Lieutenant Dongjun. "My kids are counting on us. Let's make some noise." The fighters accelerated toward the mothership, their engines screaming defiantly against the alien presence that had surrounded Earth. As they closed the distance, the Vaktar ship's defensive weapons came alive. Violet beams lanced out, each one capable of vaporizing a city block. But Choi and her pilots were ready. Break formation, evasive pattern delta. The human fighters scattered like startled birds, dodging and weaving between the energy beams. Their ships weren't fast enough to outrun the weapons, but they were small enough to be difficult targets. 3 fighters didn't make it through the first barrage, vanishing in brilliant flashes of light. "Keep moving," Choi ordered. "Target the sensor clusters on the mothership's belly, make them pay attention to us." While Phoenix Squadron drew the aliens' focus far below the ocean's surface, Commander Jun-Ho Park guided his submarine through the crushing darkness of the Mariana Trench. The vessel creaked under the pressure, its hull protesting every meter of descent toward the hidden weapon. "Depth passing 6,000 meters, reported sonar operator Ming Yu, his eyes glued to the readings. "Sir, the water pressure would crush a human in seconds out there." Park nodded grimly. "And that's exactly why the scientists chose to hide the weapon here. No one would expect anything to survive at this depth." He peered through the porthole at the alien structures that had grown even here, in the deepest parts of the ocean. Vaktar technology had spread everywhere, turning Earth itself into something unrecognizable. "Contact ahead," Mingyu suddenly called out. It's the station, sir. My goodness, look at the size of it." Through the submarine's lights, they could see the outline of Deepwater Station. The facility was enormous, built into the sea floor itself. Massive cooling towers rose like underwater skyscrapers, and energy conduits snaked between buildings that seemed to go on forever. But something was wrong. The station wasn't dormant, as expected. Lights flickered throughout the complex, and strange organic growths covered much of the structure. "The Vaktar found it," whispered Engineer Hauman. "They've been studying our weapon." Park felt his stomach drop. "Can we still access it?" "Unknown, sir. We'll have to go in and check." As Park's team prepared for the most dangerous mission of their lives, another drama played out in the cold reaches of space. Lieutenant Hyunwoo Lee's fighter limped through hyperspace, its engines damaged from constant fighting. Behind him, the Mars fleet followed, 36 warships that represented humanity's last hope from the outer colonies. "Earth Command, this is Lightning Strike," Hyunwoo radioed, his voice crackling through static. "We're dropping out of hyperspace. Our Mars fleet is with me, but we've got problems. The Vaktar sent pursuit ships after us. They're maybe 10 minutes behind." Through the bridge window of the lead Mars warship, Admiral Inwoo watched Earth grow larger on the viewscreen. The planet was barely recognizable. Where once there had been blue oceans and white clouds, now there were dark swirls of alien matter and energy storms that crackled with violet lightning. "My God," he whispered, "what have they done to our home?" On Earth's surface, Dr. Minji Kim worked frantically in the underground command center. Her fingers flew over the control panels as she synchronized the quantum weapon systems. Around The sounds of battle grew closer. Vaktar ground forces had breached 3 tunnel entrances, and their mechanical spiders were methodically hunting down every human they could find. "Quantum field generators at North Pole coming online," she reported, her voice tense. "Antarctic station is still not responding. Come on, come on." A massive explosion shook the command center. Through the security cameras, she could see one of the spider creatures melting through the final blast door. Its liquid metal form shifted and flowed as it worked, occasionally pausing to examine human technology with sensors that glowed like stars. "All weapon systems armed," Dr. Kim continued, trying to ignore the approaching danger. "Power levels at 40% and climbing, but we need those polar stations." In space, Captain Choi's fighters were taking heavy losses. Half her squadron was gone, but they had accomplished their mission. The Vaktar mothership's attention was fully focused on the annoying human fighters that buzzed around it like angry insects. "Phoenix leader, we've got incoming," called out Lieutenant Dongjun. "New Vaktar ships dropping out of hyperspace." Choi looked at her scanner and felt her blood freeze. 20 more alien warships had arrived, each one crackling with fresh energy. But then she saw something else, human ships emerging from hyperspace on the other side of Earth. "Phoenix Squadron, this is Admiral Inwoo aboard the Indomitable. We're here to even the odds." The Mars fleet spread out across the battlefield, their weapons charging. These weren't Earth's older ships. The colonies had been working on new technology, armed with weapons based on Dr. Kim's research about the Vaktar's shield weaknesses. "All Mars ships, target the enemy vessels with harmonic disruptors," Admiral Inwoo commanded. "Let's show these aliens what human engineering can really do." The first harmonic pulse hit a Vaktar ship, and something amazing happened. Instead of bouncing off harmlessly, the energy beam passed right through the shield and struck the hull. The alien vessel shuddered, its bioluminescent patterns flickering and dimming. Deep beneath the ocean, Commander Park's team had reached Deepwater Station. The submarine docked with difficulty, its mechanical arms barely managing to connect with the alien-modified docking port. "Life support shows the station still has atmosphere," reported Mingyu. "But, sir, I'm reading multiple life forms inside. Human life forms." Park felt a chill run down his spine. The Vaktar hadn't just found the station. They were using human slaves to operate it. "We go in careful," he decided. "These people might be under alien control, but they're still humans. We save them if we can." The team moved through the station's corridors, their flashlights creating eerie shadows on walls covered with alien growth. The facilities had been changed, adapted for the Vaktar's purposes. Human technology blended with organic alien structures in ways that made Park's skin crawl. They reached the main control room to find a dozen humans working at the quantum weapon controls. Their eyes glowed with violet light, and they moved with the precise, emotionless motions of the mind-controlled. "They're trying to turn our own weapon against us," Park realized. Back on the surface, Dr. Kim watched her power readings climb. 70%! Antarctic Station is finally responding. The joy in her voice mixed with terror as explosions rocked the command center. The spider creature had broken through. "Initiating weapon sequence," she announced. "All teams, the quantum field is building. You have 5 minutes before it goes fully active." The air itself began to shimmer as the quantum weapon drew power from every reactor on Earth. Streetlights dimmed across continents, hospital generators strained to provide backup power. The very fabric of space-time around Earth began to twist and bend as the weapon prepared to fire. In the Vaktar mothership, alarms blared in alien languages. The massive vessel's sensors detected something they had never encountered before, a planet-sized quantum field generator that was preparing to turn reality itself into a weapon. "All ships, target that energy source," came an order in the Vaktar's multi-toned voice. "Destroy it before—" The command was cut off as every human ship opened fire simultaneously. The Mars fleet's harmonic weapons, Earth's remaining defenses, and even the small fighters all struck at once. For the first time since the invasion began, Vaktar ships began to take real damage. Dr. Kim's voice echoed through every radio on Earth and in space. "Final countdown. Quantum weapon firing in 10 seconds. All humans brace for reality shift." The energy buildup was visible from space. Earth glowed with a light unlike anything in nature, a swirling aura of quantum energy that made the planet look like a star. Being born, 5 seconds, 4, 3. In the underwater station, Park's team fought desperately to stop the mind-controlled humans from sabotaging the weapon. In space, Captain Choi led her remaining fighters in one final charge against the Vactar formation. Throughout Earth's tunnels, soldiers and civilians alike held their breath. 2, 1. The quantum weapon fired. Reality screamed. The quantum pulse erupted from Earth like a newborn star, washing across the solar system in a wave of pure energy that rewrote the laws of physics itself. Every Vactar ship froze in space as their shields collapsed, and their organic technology convulsed against the alien frequencies. Dr. Minji Kim watched from the underground command center as her readings showed the impossible becoming real. "It's working," she shouted over the alarms. "Every Vactar ship has gone dark. Their entire fleet is floating dead in space." The quantum field created a shimmering bubble around Earth that made the planet appear to exist slightly outside normal space-time. Inside this bubble, the Vactar's advanced technology couldn't function, but human machines worked perfectly. Commander Junho Park felt the change instantly in the underwater station. The mind-controlled humans suddenly stopped what they were doing, blinking in confusion as the violet glow faded from their eyes. They looked around, disoriented, as if waking from a terrible dream. "The weapon was worth it," Park whispered, helping one of the freed humans to their feet. The man was a scientist who had been missing for 2 weeks. "You're safe now," Park told him. "The aliens can't control you anymore." Above the ocean, the scene was even more dramatic. The massive Vactar, mothership that had seemed invincible just moments before now, drifted helplessly. Its bioluminescent patterns flickered weakly, and its tentacle-like appendages hung limp in space. Captain Sunmi Choi felt tears stream down her face as she watched enemy ships go dark one by one. All Phoenix Squadron, all Mars Fleet vessels. "The enemy is disabled! I repeat, the Vactar fleet is completely disabled!" Admiral Inwoo's voice came through the radio, filled with wonder. "Outstanding work, Phoenix Leader. All ships prepare for boarding operations. We're going in to capture their technology and any human prisoners." The battle wasn't over yet. While the large ships were disabled, smaller Vactar creatures and ground forces were still active on Earth's surface. These beings, not dependent on the same advanced technology, continued to fight with primitive weapons and raw strength. General Kyung-Soo Jung emerged from the tunnels leading a force of human soldiers armed with sonic weapons. The spider creatures that had been hunting them were now sluggish and confused, their liquid metal forms struggling to maintain cohesion in the quantum field. "All surface teams, the tide has turned," Jung announced. "Advance and liberate our cities. Show no mercy to the Vactar, but save any humans you find." The liberation of Earth's cities was swift but chaotic. Human fighters poured from hidden bunkers and underground stations, overwhelming the confused alien ground forces. The Vactar had depended too heavily on their technology and mind-controlled human slaves. With both advantages removed, they were no match for humanity's desperate fury. In New York, which had been transformed into a twisted alien hive, Captain Choi led ground forces through streets lined with organic towers. "Watch for human survivors," she called out. "The mind control should be wearing off, but they'll be confused and scared." They found hundreds of people wandering the streets, freed from alien control but traumatized by their experiences. Medical teams rushed to help them, while soldiers continued clearing the alien structures. Back in space, Commander Park's submarine surfaced to find rescue ships already arriving. The quantum weapon had not only disabled the Vactar, it had somehow reversed much of the damage they had done to Earth's surface. Cities that had been twisted into alien shapes were slowly returning to normal as the quantum field neutralized the Vactar's transformations. "Dr. Kim, this is incredible," Park radioed from his submarine. "The weapon is still affecting Vactar technology. Everything they changed is changing back." In the command center, Dr. Kim was studying readings that defied belief. "Commander, it's even better than we hoped. The quantum field is not just neutralizing their technology, it's integrating with ours. We're gaining access to Vactar scientific knowledge as their systems fail." This was the breakthrough humanity needed. As Vector computers and databases lost their protection, human scientists could access thousands of years of alien scientific advancement. Technologies that would have taken humans centuries to develop were now within reach. Lieutenant Hyunwoo Lee landed his battered fighter at a makeshift airfield and was immediately surrounded by reporters and civilians. Despite being exhausted from his incredible journey, he found the strength to smile at the crowd. "The colonies have sent more than just ships," he announced. "They've sent the proof that humanity can't be stopped. No matter how far we spread across the stars, we're still one people. When Earth called for help, every human in the galaxy answered. The days that followed blurred together in a whirlwind of reconstruction and discovery. General Jung took charge of the massive cleanup operation, turning former alien structures into resource centers and temporary housing for displaced civilians. "We're not just rebuilding," he explained to his commanders. "We're building better. The quantum weapon gave us the chance to start fresh, and the Vector technology gives us the tools to do it right." Dr. Kim led teams of scientists who were working around the clock to understand and adapt the alien technology. "Their knowledge of healing and regeneration is extraordinary," she reported. "Injuries that we thought were permanent can now be healed, and their understanding of space travel so we could reach other galaxies within decades instead of thousands of years." Captain Choi oversaw the formation of new military units, trained in both human tactics and adapted Vector technology. "We defeated them because we fought as humans," she reminded her troops. "But now we learn from them to make sure this never happens again." The captured Vector leaders were held in specialized containment facilities where human scientists could communicate with them. These aliens, revealed to be from a dying galaxy, had been consuming worlds out of desperation. With their fleet destroyed and their plans failed, many became cooperative, sharing knowledge in exchange for the chance to start over. 6 months after the invasion, Earth was not just recovered, it was transformed. Cities rose again, incorporating the best of human architecture with the most beneficial aspects of Vector biotechnology. Gardens grew where weapons factories once stood, and schools taught children about both human history and galactic science. Lieutenant Hyunwoo Lee stood on a platform overlooking the new Seoul, which gleamed with silver spires that reached toward the stars. He was no longer just a pilot. He had become humanity's first ambassador to the stars, leading expeditions to other worlds and establishing peaceful contact with the many races of the galaxy. "We learned something important from all this," he said in his first interstellar broadcast. "We're strongest when we stand together, whether that means all humans on Earth or all beings in the universe." The Vector came as conquerors, but in the end, they taught us that the galaxy has room for everyone. Children who had hidden in tunnels during the invasion now played in parks where alien and human technology created wonders nobody had imagined. Former soldiers became teachers, sharing stories of how courage and sacrifice had saved the world. General Jung, now leading the Global Reconstruction Council, often visited these parks. "They'll grow up in a better world than we ever imagined," he told Dr. Kim during one of their walks. "But they'll also know the price of freedom." Dr. Kim nodded, watching children playing with toys that floated in the air using adapted Vector gravity control. The quantum weapon did more than save us. It proved that humans have something the Vector never understood, the ability to turn knowledge into wisdom and enemies into friends. As Earth took its place as a leading member of the Galactic Council, with humanity spreading across the stars as explorers rather than conquerors, the people never forgot the lessons of those dark days. In schools and homes, on new colonies and distant space stations, the story was told of how humanity faced its darkest hour and emerged into the light. The universe was vast and full of mysteries, but humans were no longer alone or afraid. They carried with them the memory of Captain Choi's courage, Commander Park's determination, Dr. Kim's brilliance, General Jung's leadership, and Lieutenant Lee's faith in the future. Earth shone like a beacon among the stars, not as a target for conquest, but as proof that even in the darkest times hope could light the way to a new dawn. The end.